Year 7, Macbeth. It's Monday, but a slightly different Monday to usual because you'll be able to dial in to a meeting hosted by me at around 9:30 to talk about this lesson if anything is uncertain. So, without further ado, let's flash through this lesson and then talk perhaps a little later. Uh, an epicure, then. Do you remember what an epicure is? Macbeth boasts that he doesn't want to mix with the English epicures. An epicure is a pleasure seeker, somebody who focuses on enjoyment rather than anything else in his or her life. But why is Macbeth the opposite of Epicurean at the moment? So why can't he enjoy himself? Why is Macbeth the opposite of an epicure? What's on his mind? What pressures is he under? What's happened to his team, his fellow knights, his fellow thanes? Well, he's very distracted. He is alone in his thoughts, his murderous thoughts, and he is about to be attacked by Macduff and Malcolm, who are hiding in the wood. You need to know what a theme is, don't you? So a theme is an idea that recurs, which means happens again and again, or pervades, which means run through in a work of art or literature. So a theme, basically a bigger issue, for example, a theme of, what have you studied? A theme of the prodigal son could be forgiveness. A theme of Beowulf could be revenge or loyalty or community. So, previous, what is one theme that King James would have been interested in seeing on stage and why? So, imagine King James sitting down watching Macbeth. Remember that first performance back in 1606. What's one theme that he would have been interested in seeing on stage and why? And which theme is the odd one out and why? Oh, before I go on to that, actually, should we have a look at some themes in Macbeth? Is engineering in Macbeth? No, not really. You could, I know one student in my class that probably be able to make a clever link between engineering and Macbeth. You know who you are. Themes. Music. Is there any music in Macbeth? Possibly. There are a few references to hautboys, but it isn't one of the main themes. How about politics? Would politics be a theme in Macbeth? I think so. It's the idea of support, ambition, making a political maneuver to take over a government, perhaps. Yes. Other themes in Macbeth. Appearance and reality. Remember, Macbeth looks polite, but in reality is murderous. Honor. Macbeth was honorable once. And Macduff is responsible for returning honor to Scotland, if you like. Love, ambition. Lady Macbeth wants the throne. She also loves her husband. The supernatural and witchcraft. Well, yes, three witches. We've seen the three apparitions. We've seen that turning away from conventional religion. Order and disorder, religion, the great chain of being, violence, sleep is a theme that is referred to. Macbeth will sleep no more, he says. Macbeth and Lady Macbeth. Lady Macbeth says to her husband that you lack sleep. Sleep is disturbed because of Macbeth's crime, really. And of course, Lady Macbeth sleepwalks later on, holding a candle. Animal kingdom, plenty of references to birds of prey, hawks, owls, hell kites, falcons. Nature in general, well, you could argue that, yes, the weather seemed upset when King Duncan was murdered. Our chimneys were blown down, says Lennox or Ross. Clothes and grooming. When I was doing teacher training, my boss said that clothes art feature in Macbeth. So out of honour to him, I included clothes with grooming as well. Sleep knits up the ravelled sleeve of care, says Macduff. Lady Mac... Did I say Macduff? Macbeth, anyway. Sleek over your looks, says Lady Macbeth to her husband, which means groom yourself so that you look polite and gentlemanly at all times. This murderous thoughts doth do unfix my hair, says Macbeth. So grooming and clothes and appearances are theme. Let's go back to the front page. Which theme is the odd one out and why? Loyalty, crime, or engineering? Which one theme is the odd one out in Macbeth? Let's push on. Today we are going to look at Act 5, Scene 5. The late stages of the play. We're going to identify the consequences of events within the scene, and we're going to analyze the language, form, and structure used by Macbeth in his renowned speech, the tomorrow, tomorrow, tomorrow speech. We've done that. I've done that too. This is... we're going to carefully read Act 5, Scene 5. We're going to look at two events that are reported and the consequences of those events. And as we're reading, we are going to look at the structure in the speech. So we're going to analyze the rhythm of the lines, the imagery Macbeth uses, the language, rhetorical devices, and the messages in his speech. So let's leap out of PowerPoint, like so. Let's hop over to Wedge, like so, and let's find the scene. Right. Okay, so Satan and Macbeth are talking. Macbeth is preparing for war. Hang out the banners. They come. They're hiding in the wood, but the wood isn't going anywhere. Then Macbeth hears a scream, and Macbeth's friend Satan reports that the Queen, my lord, is dead. And here starts Macbeth's speech. It's around 14 lines long. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 lines long. Now, follow me closely because we have to speak about structure. Structure means how long are the lines? Do they rhyme? Is it in verse or prose? Is this in verse or prose? Capital letters at the start of each line tells us it is verse. It's in pentameter. De-dum, 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 de-dum. Remember those 5 beats? There would have been a time for such a word. But there's something strange about the first line. She should have died hereafter. Where's the last de-dum? There isn't one, because Macbeth stops in his speech. He's hesitating. The Queen, my lord, is dead. She should have died hereafter. Then he pauses and thinks about the significance of what's happened. There would have been time for such a word, which means once upon a time, or later on, hereafter, after here, basically after now, I would have had time to speak and think about my wife and mourn and grieve properly, but now I'm too busy. Life is always about tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. We're always talking about tomorrow until the last syllable of recorded time, but there's no time now to fill in that last line. So look at how that short first line works. She should have died hereafter. Then he thinks and hesitates, and that's almost a gap in his heart, if you like. It shows that he's been affected. That dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum-de-dum rhythm is broken suddenly. First time really that Macbeth has showed any sympathy in a very long time, possibly at all in the play, possibly since before the murder. All our yesterdays have lighted fools their way to dusty death, the way to dusty death. So all of our ambition leads to an ignominious dusty death. We are all dust. So what themes have we covered so far? Love, loss, longing, death, time. There's another sense of time. Remember, it's one of those themes that pervades. Yesterday, another reference to time. Tomorrow, a reference to time and how little time we have now and in our lives in general. Out, brief candle. Another reference to time. Lady Macbeth is the candle that's been put out. Do you remember what Lady Macbeth was holding when she was sleepwalking? Known as a taper. Anyone? She was holding a candle. Now that image returns. Brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow. I cover this in the summary, but so I won't go over it now. Otherwise, it'll just sound repetitive. Life is but a walking shadow. A walking actor was somebody who played temporary parts in plays. So you're on stage briefly, then you're heard no more. Life is a play told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. So all the noise we make in our life, all our ambition, all our dreams, end up signifying nothing. Look at that second shorter line as well. The shortness of the line reflecting the brevity of life. Life means nothing. Almost just 2 words. Very rare for a Shakespearean lord to say a line of 2 words. There's no 5 beats, are there? It's just a 2-beat line. I'll be asking you later, what's the significance of the 2 shorter lines in that speech, and what themes are covered in line speech here. So let's move on to the consequences of what happens next for your own reference. The messenger appears next and says, as I stood on a hill, I thought I saw Burnham Wood begin to move. I know I spelled this with an H last lesson, but let's just keep that between us. The wood began to move. Macbeth can't believe it. Surely the wood isn't moving. Remember what the witches told Macbeth. You are invincible as long as until Burnham Wood do come to Dunsinane. Now those words are coming back to haunt Macbeth, because now the wood comes towards Dunsinane. Then he sends out an alarm for people to put on their arms, their armor, and go and face the enemy. So let me leave you with your tasks, first of all, which are which are waiting. So remember, we can discuss this, I suppose, later in the morning. First task is, how does Macbeth present the theme of life and ambition in his speech? Remember all those references to time and so on. And what is the effect of the 2 shorter lines of Macbeth's speech? That's the line at the top, she should have died hereafter, and the short line signifying nothing at the bottom. So those 2 questions are this week's work. You'll only have 1 video lesson per week now. Right, so let me leave you with a video summary, and I'll talk to you on the other side.
Students, welcome to the Heath. Last time we saw Macbeth, he said, I cannot fear death and bane until Burnham Forest comes to Dunsinane. We're going to see today how that happens. Macbeth, unfortunately, is going to be told about the death of his wife, but he responds with a soliloquy or a speech that really sums up how he's felt throughout the play. Look at the last words of each of the lines closely. Hereafter, time, date, tomorrow. There's this theme of time that runs throughout this soliloquy. He says that his life is like a walking shadow. A walking player was an actor who would be hired simply to play a small part in a random play. Macbeth compares his life with that individual. In fact, not a walking man, but a walking shadow, a shadow of a man. We are, he says, insignificant. Lady Macbeth is a brief candle. We are all actors on a stage.
The Queen, my lord, is dead.
She should have died hereafter. There would have been time for such a word. Tomorrow, and tomorrow, and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day, till the last syllable of recorded time, and all our yesterdays have lighted fools the way to dusty death. Out, out, brief candle. Life's but a walking shadow, a poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, and then is heard no more. It's a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Thou comest to use thy tongue. Thy story, quickly.
Gracious my lord, I should report that which I say I saw, but know not how to do it.
Well, say, sir.
As I stand my watch upon the hill, I looked toward Burnham, and anon, methought, the wood began to move.
Liar and slave!
Let me endure your wrath. If be not so, with this 3 mile may you see it coming. I say, a moving grove.
If thou speak'st false, upon the next tree shalt thou hang alive, till famine cling thee. I put in resolution and begin to doubt the equivocation of the fiend that lies like truth. Fear not till Burnham Wood do come to Dunsinane. And now a wood comes toward Dunsinane. Arm! Arm and out! Ring the alarm bell. Blow wind. Come rack. At least we'll die with harness on our back.
Hey, did anyone recognize that, those branches at the end? It is Scottish pine. That's the attention to detail we like to help you with here on the Heath. So yes, it's something you would have seen in a Scottish wood, really. So, how does Macbeth present the theme of life and ambition in his speech, the Tomorrow speech? And what is the effect of the 2 shorter lines of Macbeth's speech? If you're struggling with any of those questions, then log in to talk to us. I think it's 9:30 this morning. Bye for now.